What's happening, guys? How's it going? So, this past weekend we had Errol Spence defeating Shawn Porter by a highly controversial split decision. You guys know my thoughts on that. I thought Shawn Porter won the fight. If you saw my post-fight review, if you've been following my channel, you'll know that. And I also highlighted that the biggest problem for me in regards to that fight was the officiating. Jack Reese is a horrible referee, terrible referee. I've spoken out about him many times in the past. I've exposed him in the past. He is one of the worst referees in the history of boxing. One of the worst, alongside Lawrence Cole. I'm not quite sure who out of the two of them is worse, but they're both dreadful referees. Jack Reese is the same referee who did the Andre Ward Mikhail Kessler fight. He's the same referee who did the Tyson Fury Wilder fight. Just a absolutely notoriously disgusting, corrupt referee. And the less said about him, the better. But what I really wanted to talk about in this video, I wanted to talk about how surprising it is that you've got this guy Errol Spence, right, who for the past 4 years or so, I'd say 4 or 5 years, we've been hearing from the mainstream media over in America, the mainstream boxing media. We've been hearing from the, certain contingents of the YouTube boxing community. We've been hearing all over the place about this guy, Errol Spence Jr., and how this guy is the boogeyman, and how this guy's so avoided, and how nobody wants to fight him, and how he's so powerful, and he would just absolutely wreck anybody in the division. He would wreck anybody from welterweight to middleweight, and nobody wants to fight him. He's the boogeyman. He's that guy. Well, it's funny to me how, after having a very tough fight against Shawn Porter, a guy who's a very good fighter but not exactly an elite fighter, it's funny to me how now, they're talking about sticking Errol Spence in with Manny Pacquiao. And rather than negotiate with Manny Pacquiao, because obviously that's the one we're all talking about, is what I'm trying to say. That's the fight that is the logical next step in the division. Obviously he's not going to fight Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is with Top Rank and ESPN, and the PBC and Al Heyman don't do business with those guys, which is a shame, but it is what it is. I'm not expecting that fight to ever happen, okay? They don't want to fight Terence Crawford. But the Manny Pacquiao fight is the one we're all talking about, because that's the one that makes the most sense logically. It makes the most financial sense. Imagine having that fight in the Cowboy Stadium in Texas. I believe they could have that fight. That would be a huge fight over there. But it seems that the PBC are more interested in sticking Errol Spence in with Danny Garcia. And that's funny to me, because it seems to me like after all the smoke that has been blown up Errol Spence's arse over the years, his people, his handlers over at the PBC, Al Heyman, and all them lot over there, don't think that he is ready for a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao. And you know what? I happen to agree. Based on that performance against Shawn Porter, and Shawn Porter's a good fighter. I'm not trying to put down Shawn Porter, okay? Got the utmost respect for him. But I've got to be honest, if Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence were to fight in the next few months, I would favour Manny Pacquiao. I would, particularly based on their last two performances. Manny Pacquiao, in his last fight, was able to comfortably and clearly defeat Keith Thurman, right? Put him down in the first round, outworked him, outlanded him, almost had him on the run on occasions in the fight, hurt him to the body, trapped him on the ropes. It was just a very wind back the years type of performance from Manny. And not only that, but his two fights prior to that, he was able to defeat Adrian Broner convincingly. He absolutely dominated and stopped Lucas Matisse. These are all credible fighters, okay? Two of them were reigning world champions. So Manny Pacquiao, even at 40 years old, and despite how much he has regressed as a fighter, Manny Pacquiao still has a lot left to give. And he has proven that with his most recent performances. So to me, it's very interesting how Errol Spence doesn't seem to be too keen on that fight right now, and I don't really think that that's a coincidence. I think he knows that he probably isn't ready for Pacquiao, and I think that this hype for Errol Spence, the absolute smoke that has been blown up his arse over the years, is unfounded. I really do. I don't think this guy is anything special. I certainly don't think that Errol Spence provides any sort of challenge that Manny Pacquiao hasn't faced before. Manny Pacquiao, has been a professional for 24 years, and the amount of styles he's been up against, the amount of attributes he's had to overcome in the ring. He's fought a lot of fighters who were similar to Errol Spence. I mean, Antonio Margarito, Oscar De La Hoya, guys like that all had a big size advantage over Manny. In fact, I believe Antonio Margarito in particular was a considerably bigger fighter than Spence. Now, maybe Spence, you might say, is more skilled. Well, certainly he is. But Manny Pacquiao has fought skilled fighters, okay? He's fought fighters of different styles. He's fought guys who move, guys who box, guys who counterpunch, guys who foul. He's fought guys who stand and fight, guys who brawl. There's nothing that Manny Pacquiao hasn't seen in the ring, is the point I'm trying to make. So, I think he would beat Errol Spence if they were to fight, in their next fight in the next few months. Unfortunately, though, they're probably not going to fight until sometime into next year, by which point Manny Pacquiao will be 41 years old, and it's an age that it's a slippery slope. When you're in your 40s at that age, it's really a slippery slope. I mean, one bad training camp, and you're just not the same fighter anymore. But I've got to be honest, man. I've got a good feeling about it. I hope that fight happens before the end of this year. I hope they're able to make that fight for December, something like that. Let's get that fight on. Why not? Let's get Manny Pacquiao against Errol Spence. If Errol Spence is that guy that they're telling us he is, if he is this boogeyman, this amazing elite fighter that nobody can hang with, if he would just wreck anybody in the welterweight division, let's get that Manny Pacquiao versus Terence Crawford fight next. And let's get it sooner rather than later, because I would love to see it. I really would. I mean, imagine if Manny Pacquiao at 40 years old were to defeat Errol Spence with all that's been said. I mean, just imagine that. That's insane. I mean, with all this talk about Spence being the boogeyman, and for Manny Pacquiao at his advanced years the fact he beat Keith Thurman after all the shit they said about Keith Thurman back in the day was amazing in itself. But if he were to then go on and beat Spence, that's fantastic. It really is. So just a little quick video there, man. I think Manny Pacquiao would beat Errol Spence. I really do, even at 40. And I hope they make that fight next. I really do hope they make that fight next. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think anyway. Thanks for watching and God bless. Just a quick video here.